Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me today in this live stream, and for those who might watch this later. Today, I want to talk about healthy intimacy. And I know many people struggle with this particular topic and this issue, as I have as well. It's healthy intimacy people are looking for. They're always coming to me and saying, Jerry, I want to find somebody I can have healthy intimacy with. I don't do healthy intimacy well. Intimacy has not been something that's worked out well for me. And what I've found for those who share those kinds of things, as I did as well, because I didn't know how relationships operated. I didn't know how they functioned, and so I'm just kind of in the dark, trying to find my way to healthy intimacy, hoping I will bump into it or it will just fall in my lap or I'll just get lucky. Whereas I don't think healthy intimacy is just simply a matter of luck. I wish it were, and maybe I'd win the lottery with it, or thought I could win the lottery with that. And oftentimes we also can set our sights on somebody that we care about or would like to be in a healthy relationship or an intimate relationship with, but we don't have the skills to participate on the level that they might be able to participate in terms of intimacy. And so oftentimes we'll feel thwarted. Well, everybody I've tried, it just doesn't work. Or what I will, it'll be the opposite. Will have dysfunctional realities and dysfunctional awareness about relationships and choose people who are not as intimate as we are and what our abilities are. And so they're down here and I'm up here, and we're trying to make this relationship work and it doesn't work. The first that I described was I'm down here and they're up here and I'm trying to make it work. Healthy intimacy is when we both share a kind of a similar maturity about healthy intimacy, or the skills for that, or the maturity for that, or the self differentiation for that. And I believe people can increase their ability to be more intimate while and increase their ability to be self differentiated and mature. That changes the whole relationship dynamics. Dating, finding someone, it really does transform that. And I've over 45 years of working with people, I have seen how many people have come and all of their relationships were just horrible or very dysfunctional. Then they begin to learn the realities of healthy relationships from a systems perspective, and then I end up being surprised at, and in fact, just talked with someone today who I think she would have, when she first came to see me, she would have never said she could find somebody. And now she has. She's able to be more open and vulnerable and intimate with them, and they with her, because she has been making those changes in herself. So again, I'm so happy you're here. Healthy intimacy is something I talk about in the online program that that's been launched. You can find that on my website. There'll be some links below as well. Your new road to self, building the self you were never allowed to have. And it is a 6-module plan, a 6-module program. You can do it at your pace. Take all the time you need. You have access to these videos and this teaching for a long time. They're exercises, tools, and things to help you become more self-differentiated, help you to become more mature, help you to change from that old dysfunctional family that's at work in you, and help you to be the self that you would like to be and want to be. Um, the And as I do my talk here a little bit, then I'll have some time for a couple of questions um, at the end, and maybe I can answer some questions for you. But let me talk about some things regarding intimacy. And again, I'm just going to touch on these in this live stream, but in the workshop, or excuse me, in the online program, I go into much more depth of that. And first of all, self intimacy and intimacy with the self and intimacy with others flow from the same stream. And I believe that's a very important concept because everybody's going, how can I be more intimate with others? How can I find somebody who I could be intimate with? And I'm going, no, no, you're looking too far. Don't look out there. Look in here. How can I be intimate with me? Having reality, letting go of denial, being vulnerable with myself, loving myself, being open with myself, self compassionate. If I can learn to do that with me, I can learn to do that with others. And others will be attracted to the person that I am in taking care of myself. Because if I'm not taking care of myself and I'm not able to be intimate with myself, I'm going to be much more skeptical about the people that are going to be attracted to me because they're probably not going to be as healthy as I would like them to be if they're attracted to me and I don't really like myself. I don't love myself. I'm looking for someone to love me because I don't love me. If you have that kind of thinking and paradigm and subjective experience, then the you're going to attract someone who's going to fit into that paradigm. And that's not who we want to be in a relationship with because we end up having broken relationships. It doesn't turn out well. All kinds of toxic things can happen because I'm not caring and loving and intimate with me. And I certainly was not. And so remember, self intimacy, intimacy with others flow from the same stream. And I have a module where I talk about that in much more detail. In addition, intimacy is not the same thing as intensity or fusion with another person. For those of us who grew up in dysfunctional families, we tend to, well, intimacy masquerades as fusion and intensity. Um, it's if you we equate intimacy with fusion and intensity. And the problem is that can be, as maybe many of you have realized, can be really, really difficult. It isn't intensity and fusion. It doesn't mean we can't have a period of honeymoon or some passion or falling in love. We can have those experiences. But beyond that, what are we seeking for? And many of us have grown up that I want to be fused and it needs to be intense. If it's not intense, it's not love. If it's not fusion emotionally, it's not love. We need a whole new definition of love. Secondly, the opposite of unhealthy love is hate. And both are a pursuit of another person in an unhealthy way. Unhealthy love, this fusion and intensity, that's an unhealthy pursuit of someone to find love. Then hate is an unhealthy pursuit of another person. Just like when someone gets a divorce, it was nasty divorce. The person, let's say they are, the husband and wife have fallen out, they're mad at each other. Then the husband comes to me after the divorce and says, I just hate that woman. I will always hate her. And she was awful. Oh, and then I say, oh, so you're still married to her? And he goes, no, 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 we're divorced. And I go, no, 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 you're still married. You're still married emotionally. You're still pursuing her through hate. What you were pursuing her when you were married was another maybe unhealthy out of balance. Well, now it's an out of balance where you're pursuing her with hate and anger and resentment. And that's pursuit, folks. That is pursuing someone. We know that in family systems thinking. You're still pursuing someone when you hate them. Um, Now, I'm not saying people don't do hate worthy things or harmful things or abusive things. Of course they do. But I don't want them stuck inside me with anger and resentment. I don't want that in my life. I want to be free from them. So again, that detachment is so important for moving on to a healthier relationships. Yeah, the opposite is really more indifference or separateness. Um, the and yet I say that in the opposite of love is indifference. But I don't want to say we don't need indifference or don't need separateness um, eh, or space or distance in our relationships because we probably do need more of that in healthy relationships. And if you know other healthy couples, people that have had healthier relationships, and maybe you've seen them, watched them, they have a different dynamic than people who are in unhealthy relationships. Many times we can be prickly, we can be easily triggered, we can misunderstand real easily, we can get reactive. But people who have a healthier relationship with each other, they're not engaged in that as much. They just don't engage in that. They have a healthier balance of togetherness and separateness. They have a healthy balance of those two forces. And that's what we head towards in terms of healthy intimacy. One of the ways to achieve greater intimacy is to focus on the your restrainers to intimacy, the ones that are out of our awareness. So, in other words, we want to resolve the downsides of greater intimacy. If I were more intimate with myself or with others, what would be the downside? And those are the restraints for me being able to be more intimate. And it may not be things we're even conscious of. So, okay, if I were more intimate, what would be the downsides? Oh, well, I can think of one. I could get hurt. There's a good, and I have a lot of people who will go, "Oh, well, I'll get hurt." So, or I stay mad at my ex while I go into this new relationship because I never want that to happen again. So I will stay mad and angry. The problem is you're more likely to have it happen again because you're still connected to it. And you might just be recreating it over again. And so what we want to do is loosen those emotional bonds, letting those things go, letting go so that we can go on to a new relationship and it's not being fueled by unresolved attachment because it's unresolved attachment is really what it is. I'm still attached to the ex-wife that I hate, so to speak. And if I hate them, then you're still attached to them. And I tell people, well, how about getting an emotional divorce? You've gotten a legal one, a financial one. How about we work on the emotional divorce? Because I think that could be the most important divorce you could even have, besides the money and the much, much more in terms of life satisfaction, happiness, and finding another relationship. So we want to look at the downsides of what it would be mean for us to be more intimate and resolve those downsides. We also can increase our intimacy. Oh, this is always people, this is going to be a fun one. Increase your intimacy with your family of origin, externally or internally, to gain greater ability to be intimate. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, but why should I go deal with those crazy people? And they were bad. Let me explain what I mean so that you don't misinterpret what I mean. I'm not saying you should go be best friends to all of your abusive family members. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if we, um, and by the way, I say, well, they are all dead. One of the, it doesn't matter whether they're dead or alive. I'm going to describe that. It doesn't matter whether they're here or whether they're not here. If we have cut off emotionally from our family of origin, that's not the same thing as no contact. That's an emotional cutoff. Um, that the it tends to limit and make more difficult my ability to be intimate and more healthy, balanced, mature self in relationships. If I move closer to my family of origin and actually move through them, I can be much more intimate if I can go through them. Now, by the way, I'm not saying go to your family home and set your parents down and talk. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about emotionally working through the attachments you still have with your family of origin to come out on the other side rather than running this way away from your family. Because the more we just run away from those issues, they're going to stay cemented and caught in us. We want to go through the family and past it so that this becomes far less important or it's not a dynamic in my life. So many people just want to go that way. I just want to get away from them. Okay, well then get away from them. If they're unhealthy or toxic or that's fine, but that doesn't mean you've resolved your issues with your family just because you're now no contact. No contact doesn't mean you're resolved. You've resolved those things. You may be in a healthier place because you may not be as abused. There may be some good things with doing that. But when you're talking about, Jerry, I want to learn how to be more intimate, well, then go back through your family and go past them rather than away from them. Because I want to grow past my family. And I talk more about that in the online program as well. Take a look at the link below and check out. There's also a free training. When you check out the links below, there's a free training. Please go and get that. It's absolutely free. 84 minutes. It will kind of give you a sense of what might be going on in the online program. Take a look at that. That's free. Enjoy that. And you can set up a time to watch that training. And that's separate from the online program. That's just a gift for you. The And so dealing with family of origin issues is a way of learning to become more intimate. Because where did we learn intimacy? Where did we learn anything about intimacy? Good, bad, indifferent, ugly, pretty. Where did we learn about intimacy? When you were growing up. You were modeled it, though it's not just modeling, it's deeper than that. But, how did dads treat moms? How did men treat women in your family? How did women treat men in your family? Who put value where? How did mom and dad talk? Did they talk about feelings? Did they ever talk about sex? Did they ever, what was their relationship like? You remember that was your first relationship that you were a part of. Your family relationships were your first relationship. And that's where you go, oh, this is what intimacy or relationships is about. Huh. Then we go out taking that into adulthood. We internalize it, take it into adulthood, and then things aren't working. And we don't know why. Why isn't this working? Um, because we haven't resolved those issues. Another point, reducing emotional reactivity and staying calm um, in a relationship is the heart of increasing intimacy. Uh, this work increases our tolerance for intimacy. Working on staying calmer and staying less reactive. Now, why is it important to stay calmer and less reactive? Just because you can appear like you're more like an adult? That's not the key to that. It's not so you appear to be more adult, though you may actually appear to be more adult by doing that, but that's not the point. Um, with um, if we stay more calm, if we stay less reactive and work on that, then the family of origin issues are triggered less in us and overwhelm us and cloud our thinking and our perspective. Because that family super self, which I talk about often, that we are a part of, this Wi-Fi that's going on, that's a part of me, that family super self is triggered by reactivity and a lack of calmness. So if you can stay calm, stay less reactive, you then can walk and maneuver a little more carefully in an adult recovered way because you're not being triggered by everything that went on years ago within you that's still alive in there that maybe you haven't resolved yet. So that's one way to help keep those triggerings down. So I do try to help people with calmness and reducing their reactivity. And many times it's better to do nothing than to do something. Not because doing something is bad, it's that doing nothing might give you time and help you to calm down and be less reactive. Then you might have a better outcome. Um, Small, successful attempts at intimacy while maintaining the self builds confidence and increases the self's ability to stay connected while being yourself. When we think about intimacy, it's about I want to stay connected to the other person emotionally, but I want to also be myself. Now, that sounds easy. Just be yourself and stay connected. It's not as easy as many people think. It takes practice to do that. How can I stay connected and be me? The other thing about going through family is how can I deal with, stay connected emotionally, not as friends and let's go out and play golf or let's go to dinner. It's not that. It's staying connected emotionally while being myself and moving through this way and moving past them. I want to move past them in terms of maturity, a sense of self, more awareness to reality, and a more mature perspective and more clear headedness without all the dysfunctional noise that they are dealing with a lot of the time, that's going on with them all the time. They are activated all the time, is what I've found, especially for dysfunctional families. Achieving and finding healthy intimacy has less to do with the other person and more to do with self intimacy, self awareness, self definition, and self regulation. And I kind of implied that early on with saying self intimacy and other intimacy flow from the same stream, and they really do. So when people go, I'm having trouble with intimacy, well, how are you having trouble with you? Oh, but I just want to talk about Jane or Bill or and how it's so hard to be intimate with them. Well, okay, we can talk about that, but you're trying to fly a 747. Excuse me. You're trying to fly a 747 and you haven't learned how to fly a single engine jet yet, a single engine plane. And so you're going, help me to be more intimate with my boyfriend or my spouse. Well, you're not even intimate with you. How? I mean, I can tell you what to do, but I think you're going to have a hard time doing it and being consistent and even understanding it fully. Not that you're dumb. I wasn't dumb. There were just things I didn't know. And maybe ignorant is the right word. And ignorance not a pejorative term. If we just don't know something, we don't know something. Well, we grew up in families where we didn't know something. We didn't get the memo. So, um, again, achieving and finding intimacy has less to do with other people or another person than it has to do with you. The last thing I wanted to share was I love Harriet Lerner's Lerner, Harriet Lerner's definition of an intimate relationship. You can find that in her great book, The Dance of Intimacy, which I would definitely recommend. I think it's a great book for intimacy. And then I even add to it quite a bit more in the online program and provide my own helps for increasing your ability to be intimate and find intimacy. Harriet Lerner states, an intimate relationship is one in which neither party silences, sacrifices, or betrays the self, and each party expresses strength and vulnerability, weakness, and competence in a balanced way. So, if you want to know what an intimate relationship, that's a great description of it. That I don't betray and silence me, and I'm also able to be vulnerable, weak, competent, and in a balanced way in the relationship. And that's a systems view of relationship health, which I like the way she describes that, rather than a more individualistic view, which is I love you, you love me. Okay, now we have a healthy relationship. Well, I'm not sure that is true or always is true for sure. An intimate relationship is one in which neither party silences, sacrifices, or betrays the self for either one of them, and each party expresses strength and vulnerability, weakness, and competence in a balanced way. And I think it's definitely possible. I've seen it so many times. And in fact, I think it's achievable. I think it's something we didn't get the memo on. I think we can get the memo, um, and that there's certainly things that we need to do to mature because we're growing into this healthy relationship or healthy intimate relationship, and that I think there are certainly pathways to do that because I've seen it with people who I even thought might not get it and maybe couldn't get to that point. They have. I've been surprised I don't know how many times. And they've just said, I never knew you could feel this way. I never knew you could be this way after working with me. Um, and and I think again the online program you might want to take a look at that because it does have intimacy and healthy relationships in there, and also the earlier modules prepare you for this type of definition. It prepares you to, okay, now how can I then do an intimate relationship? um, Yeah, and I think to an extent, most people suffer from arrested development. Thank you. I didn't see your name. Whoop, what was that? Daniel. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, when you grow up in a dysfunctional family, you've got arrested development. I mean, and so, but here's the point. If you're going to unarrest your development, if you're going to develop, tell me how to do that. Can you tell me how to do that? Um, and that I believe I can share with you how to do that. Because if somebody could share it with me, if I could take it in, if I can learn it, so can you. But you just don't even know. You don't know my background. You don't know what I've been through. Uh, Someday I'll write a book about all that. The Because if I can do it, anybody can, or most anybody. I know if somebody's characterologically broken, if someone's a narcissistic sociopath, they're probably not going to make a lot of development in their adult development. They're just going to keep using people as pawns because that's all they know, and they don't have the insight and ability to be able to do too much with that. So there are people who are very broken, sadly, uh, but there are many, 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 many of us who are. There's much more possible that we could achieve with kind of the right direction, and that's what I kind of want to provide. And I've tried to provide for 45 years and put up 400 videos on YouTube and they're all free. It was my way of paying it forward. I wanted to people have some opportunities that I didn't have. I wish I'd have had my online program 40 years ago. I wish I could have watched that. Somebody who would have done that. I really wish I could have done that. That would have probably helped me so very much. It wasn't until I was in graduate school that I began to learn more about from a great pastor, psychologist, professor who just I'm so fortunate to have met him and had him as a teacher. And every time I heard his lectures, I just thought, I'd like to be like him. What does he know that I don't know? There's things he knows I don't know. Why does he know these? How does he know these things? Where does he go read them? I want to find out. And I actually was able to find out. And I've been trying to share those things with people for 45 years. Does anyone have a question? Maybe I could do a couple questions here at the end of our excuse me, live. Sorry for the coughing. I apologize. Um, if you have a question, I could take a look and see. You could write question in caps and then have a question afterwards. Or you don't have to. If you don't want to ask a question, I just thought I'd make myself available. I wasn't able to see all of the comments as they go by. Um, the and Wavy, I think you would really enjoy the live. I'm glad you're joining. the It seemed like somebody had talked about the just question. I really can't stop getting anxious when my partner is anxious. I know you've spoken at length about it. What do I do? Oh, I think that is well. Let me give you a little brief thumbnail. If you can't stop being anxious about your partner's anxiousness, it's not about your partner's anxiousness. It's about anxiousness you learned long ago. And it's an anxiety that you're continuing to be triggered. That chronic anxiety from the past is being triggered now by your partner, spouse, or boyfriend, girlfriend. It's going to be triggered by that. Now, does that mean your spouse doesn't have anxiety? No, I'm sure they do. But do you know there's a lot of people around you who have anxiety that I would guess doesn't trigger yours? I'm just guessing. Maybe that's not true. I'm just saying. But there are people that I feel anxious around because of their anxiety. There are other people who are anxious and it doesn't trigger my anxiety because there's a story behind all this. There's a narrative, there's a whole process going on of my family of origin at work in me. So, when did you begin to learn to feel that anxiety? And when did you feel you had to respond to other people's anxiety? Um, which would trigger yours. And my hunch is that was long ago. It's just now getting continues with your spouse, but it was long ago. And unpacking that, and um, so that the so that we can begin to release that old pattern that's there. Because I don't think it's about your husband, or your spouse. I don't think it's about it. It is a trigger, absolutely. I mean, I'm not denying the, but the I don't have to deny the pattern that you see. I just want to talk about their different universals underneath it to explain it. That's what I mean when I try to describe things to people. That it's not what you're saying is not true. It's absolutely true. He's anxious, you get anxious. Then my hunch is your anxiety pings him, his anxiety then pings you back, your anxiety then and we have this whole feedback loop. But that feedback loop started long ago. The other thing is, let's take a look at the downsides. If my husband were anxious and Jerry waved a magic wand and I could no longer be anxious about his anxiety, what would be the downsides? What would be the problems? And I think that could be a very important question to gain some awareness. In other words, if you stop doing it, which I'm not saying it's easy to do, but I'm saying if you could wave that miracle magic wand, what would happen if you were not? Because I know with my mom would be anxious, I would be anxious, then I'd make her anxious, she'd make me anxious, and then when I began to realize, wait a minute, if I stop being anxious, what what would be the downsides of that? Oh, she would think I wouldn't care. She would think I don't love her. She would think I'm cold and heartless. She would, oh, well, we're not even together as a couple anymore, if I talk about a relationship. And because what that does is it leaves them with the spotlight on their anxiety rather than spotlight on this pinging of anxiety. Just like when somebody comes to me and says, Jerry, um, I think you've hated me for many years, and that has hurt me so badly. And you can tell they're anxious. They want to tell me this. And I go, well, I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. That must be horrible. Um, and look what I'm doing. I'm not being pinged. I'm letting them have their anxiety. I share some empathy or understanding. Well, that must be awful. While realizing that I've never hated them, all of the I don't know where they got that. That's never been my reality. And rather than, oh, I feel ashamed or guilty. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you felt that way about me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about that. No, I'm not sorry about that. I never did it. But I am sad that you feel badly about that irrational belief. I do. That's unfortunate, but I'm not going to get anxious about it. There's no reason for me to get anxious about it. That's anxiety for anxiety's sake. I haven't done that to them. I hope that helps explain a little bit. I think I've got another question. How can you have a healthy relationship with a family who have never had healthy, intimate relationships themselves and want you as their child or grandchild to fulfill their needs for intimacy? And you're saying, how can you have a healthy relationship with them? Well, number one, their side of the tennis net is not going to be a healthy one. So we know that they're not going to have a healthy side to the relationship. So what I'm thinking of, what is a healthy relationship for me with them as they are? immature, don't know how to do intimate relationships, needy out the wazoo, very, very needy. How can I have a relationship with them? And that's what I want to do in terms of being a mature adult. Well, I'm so sorry that I don't meet your expectations. That must be awful. What are we going to have for lunch? That's me having a healthy relationship with a dysfunctional person. Or, I hear your complaints about what I'm not doing, but I do think see it much differently than you. Now, you may think I'm trying to hurt you on purpose or being too detached or whatever. I understand that, but that's kind of where I'm at, and I hope we can continue to have a relationship. But again, I'm not going to be inviting them out to for a party every weekend. I'm not going to be best friends with them because they're not able to maintain that. So I can then just maintain my own healthy sense of self for a short time when I'm with them, just a short time. Um, and we have to think in smaller increments when you have a dysfunctional family. I'm not talking about, okay, I'm going to do this and they're all going to love me and I'm going to love them. No, no, no. They are not well. They have many, many issues and many needs. I have a few issues myself. I come with issues to this party as well. Um, and so I want to come realizing I have the issues, but that I can also take care of me, love me, protect myself, and differentiate and disagree and say, "Oh, well, I'm not, I you've never wanted to have a close relationship with your family, Jerry. You've never oh, guten Tag. Yes. You've never wanted to have a close relationship with your family. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. That must be awful to think about me that way. Huh, that must be very painful. However, I do need to share, uh, I don't know that guy. I don't know that guy who's never wanted to have a healthy relationship with his family or have a close relationship or whatever. That Jerry, I don't know. I would have always liked that. I just think it's not easy for us as a family, and that's my opinion. And you can accept that, not accept it, be mad about it, you can do whatever you want to do. But the, I, you know, and I can remember even talking to my own mom and saying, Mom, we don't do that well in our family. Because I know she always wanted me to be close with my brother. Well, my brother and I are just two different people. We're we were never going to be close that way. Though actually, I think when both of us gave up being close, having been pushed together by mom all those years, we actually became closer when you have that dynamic off. When you kind of accept, hey, we're two different people. So I think that, and TM, I'm glad, and Foreigner, I'm glad that I wish I could have been there 25 years ago. Wish somebody would have been there 40 years ago for me. And I'm glad some of these statements are a help to you. I can tell my voice is just kind of having a little bit of rest. I've been doing a lot of recording lately, and my voice is kind of raspying. I want to, again, direct you to the online program. Get the free training. Please click like on this video. That helps with YouTube and getting videos out. If you click like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so that you're automatically notified when I do a live or have a new video up. And all of those would be grateful. I would be grateful if you would do those things. Again, your new road to self is the online program. I think it would save you thousands of dollars and many years of therapy. Thank you so much for watching and being here today. I'll be having more live streaming. Have a great day and be wise.